Greetings everybody from beautiful downtown Spirit Lake, Iowa. I'm here, Tom Matuska with the Matuska Taxidermy Supply Company with Amber Ingalls, Mandy Swart, Kirsten Morris, and we're gonna just show you a whole lot of fun stuff that we've been playing with that we get to use daily in the shop. Those of you that tuned in the last couple of weeks, you remember we showed you how to make bases a couple weeks ago. This was an example of we call them simple bases. They're kind of simple because they're so easy to make. Anybody can make them, and they look so nice. They look very, very professional. This is foam that we poured on a little plywood bottom. We screwed a little log in there, glued on some real rocks, which you can do as long as you don't put too heavy of rocks. We made a depression that would hold artificial water. We showed you last week some water effects, and we poured water in there. Amber sprinkled in a little bit of pondweed, a little duckweed, and this would be a really attractive base for a duck, a wood duck, mallard, muskrat, mink.
Yep. You can really take your taxidermy work to the next level with good base work. You can make a good mount look great with an awesome base. So and don't skimp on the bases.
Sure. You can use this as it is, or you can add a little hardwood, oak or walnut trim around there. We even have inserts that fit into our really beautiful oak and walnut hollow bases. Those are pretty attractive. And then last week, we showed you, in addition, how to make some water splashes. And these are what we showed you how to make. They're just kind of random. They're free-handed. We kind of poured the resin out on a piece of plastic, stroked it with a tongue depressor, big popsicle stick, until it's set up, let it dry overnight. The next day, you'll have something like this on your piece of plastic, and you can peel it off. These can be broken and used individually like this. If you want little pieces, you can combine them. You can have a whole bunch of different ones. You can put one on top of another. But if you want to see how to do that, go back last week, and that's real fun stuff to play with.
And you can heat these up to bend them once you have them into place. So
you can heat them with
splashes,
hot water, heat gun.
The heat gun won't yellow it?
Heat gun won't yellow it if you don't burn it.
Yeah, don't get it too close too long.
If you're having trouble with yellow resin, most often it's a catalyzing issue. Too much catalyst. I had somebody call in earlier that got some this week, I think on Monday, and theirs wasn't set up, and he said that he probably didn't mix it quite good enough. If you weigh out your material, your resin, and put the 10% or 2% catalyst mix in there, most often you'll have success. It'll work pretty good. So with that, did anybody see our Halloween PanPastels yesterday? That was interesting, and we had a lot of fun with that. And Amber created enough trauma to fill a graveyard.
Joe said it lasted all day night.
Yeah.
We had employees coming up, putting all kinds of cuts on their faces and stitches and staples.
Bill Jensen, he says, last week splashes, can you tint them before poured?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And we have all the dyes from Lumelite, right? All the different dyes.
Yep.
And do a little experimenting, mix a little bit in a cup and put a drop in, see what a drop does for you. When I used to make paperweights, you can get some really nice, subtle coloration with a very small amount of color. And that color, just mix it in till there's no swirls, and pour it, and you'll have your color.
Also, Jared Embry, he says, nice shirts.
Oh.
You look good in black and gold.
Jared Embry, a few weeks ago, we said that anybody that wants us to spotlight their business, we could get in trouble. We could get taxidermists from the penitentiary.
I think you have steel-toed cracks coming at some point.
This is pretty risky with a Jared Embry shirt, I think, too. But Jared brought us all Black Squirrel Taxidermy shirts.
Yep.
And we're pretty proud to have these.
Black Squirrel Taxidermy out of Des Moines.
Very good. Thanks,
Look 'em
Jared.
up if you're in
Yeah,
the
thank you,
area.
Jared.
We didn't think you'd notice. Speaking of color and tinting things, a lot of times it's very easy to start out with. Why you look at me funny? You don't know what I'm going to say to you.
I don't know.
I scare her. A lot of times it's easier to start out with some kind of a base color in your epoxies or your resins or whatever you're doing. We often work with epoxy sculpt or fix-it sculpt. These are Abe's products, and it's a two-part. I think any taxidermist out there who's been in the business very long has used epoxy sculpt, maybe Magic Sculpt, Magic Smooth this will work in, Fix-It Sculpt, any of the two-part epoxies, the dough type materials. But this is a flesh color, and all I did was take, we've always tinted this with oil paint before. We've got a whole bunch of oil paints, and we'll mix up our epoxy, put a little bit of oil paint in there with rubber gloves, knead it all together. I'm wearing these to match the shirt. Knead it all together like this, and now for inside of the mouth work, you've got a pink type color. Now with PanPastels, we realized that by dipping your epoxy into the powder or mixing the powder in with it, you can make this stuff into absolutely any color that you want.
Yep.
So just to show you how that works.
And it's a little bit cleaner than working with the oil.
Yeah, the oil is,
Yeah.
you get it everywhere. It gets down in your pores of your skin and it's hard to get out. Equal parts of Fix-It Sculpt. Those of you that have used it before. Fix-It Sculpt is a lighter color than the natural epoxy sculpt, or you can go with the white also. If you use the natural, you're going to get a darker hue because it dries in a kind of a darker gray color. I take these two, start mixing them together. Now I just scraped some brown of the PanPastel, something that looked good to me, and I thought, well, that's going to be a little too brown, and Amber said, don't we have a dark brown? So I thought, I'm going to mix a little bit of black too. So I just, with a little stick, I just scraped them out on the back of a cup.
You can't even tell that you scraped it off. Like
No.
there's a lot in there.
Yeah, it's really compressed. I mean, it goes a long way.
Now it works good if you have gloves. It's a little bit cleaner for you. And if you're not getting the hue that you want, you can add more. And just mix it or knead it as you always would. If you want more, add more. Do you want to hand me that water and I'll dip it in a little water? We always dip our epoxies in water. It just mixes everything better, makes it creamier. Now with that black and that brown, I'm kind of getting a, dark gray tree barky type color. Now it's going to dry. The base is going to be white, but the pigment I put in is going to be a little bit browny black. This would be a good color to start with for, I'm thinking bear lips, for open mouth bears, nose repairs,
Pads, maybe?
pads underneath the animals. Another product that's we use a lot of from Abe's Studio is epoxy clay. And epoxy clay, I think has some kind of a clay aggregate in it, and it dries to a flatter finish. The PanPastels will work with any of the epoxy clays. So here's what happens when you mix that.
Kind of a nice alternative
Sure.
to oil.
Now if you were doing the inside of a nostril, if you had a color like that to start with, you can darken it, you can lighten it with your airbrush, you can use your PanPastels to work in some more color after it's dry. Oil paints, you can use anything, but it's kind of nice to have a little base color that's other than white or other than light gray. That will also work on your Magic Smooth, which is a transparent, translucent type of epoxy. It will also color that. So that's one fun thing that we discovered. PanPastels are somewhat new to us, and we're kind of learning as we go, and we're having a lot of fun doing these things. We did fish today, we did turkey heads, we did deer eyes, cat noses.
Yeah.
So why don't you show them what you were working on?
Yeah, I'll start with the cat nose because this is the one thing that I just fell in love with it for. any of you guys that do bobcat noses, or any kind of cat noses, but particularly bobcat because they have that outline that can be kind of tricky. And if you're not real smooth and skilled and steady with your airbrush, they can be really frustrating. I remember painting nose after, and doing it over and over and over again. So it's really, really nice to do it with these PanPastels because it goes super fast. It's really controlled. These little applicators work really, really good for this. They're nice and small. So I'm just gonna take two different colors. I'm gonna take this one, which is the orange shade, and then a bright red, the permanent red. And just by mixing those two, I'm gonna take a little bit of each, then we can kind of get a shade. And this is a pretty dark, dark reddy kind of nose compared to what I normally like.
Now you could do this on the scanner, you can do it, you're doing it on an artificial nose just that we have around here for
Right.
illustration purposes, but you could use it on the real nose too.
And if it's too dark, you can even take a little bit of flesh kind of color and mix in it. And I'm just kind of pre-mixing it on here just so I can get the correct shade. You don't want to end up with something that's neon orange, and you don't want something that's too fleshy. So just kind of a nice happy in between. These PanPastels come with this colorless blender, and this is really nice to really get those colors to smooth in together. So yeah, you just kind of take a little
with
bit.
it, but that's a side by.
It's a side by, sorry.
Yep.
So on this one, on this side that I'll do here real quick, it'll be a little bit lighter color than the other, but you can get that color on there really easily. It's just super easy to work with. You just rub it right on, and we can even come back over here and kind of color in this, make it all ones instead of having that. So I did this initial color first, and then we'll come in and we'll do the dark outline. So once you have that all done, I would switch tips if you're going from one color to a different extreme color, because the PanPastels do kind of get into that. So if you're going to a black, one thing to keep in mind is this is just an artificial nose. It's not on the actual animal, and the PanPastels can be a little tricky when it comes to hair. But if it gets in the hair, especially with something like this, you're gonna have hair right up all around this nose, right where you're gonna be doing this black. So it's gonna be a little freaky. It doesn't rub right out of the hair like your typical lacquer paints. But if you go ahead and take some borax, a little bit of borax in your fingers, and just put it on, kind of dump it on, and then rub it right into your hair, it will come right out of your hair. It will make it release and help it get out of your hair. So don't panic if you get some on some of your white hair on your deer or your bobcat or whatever you're working on, and all of a sudden it's not rubbing out like your
I bet
like
some
your normal
taxidermists
lacquer.
did panic at one time.
Ooh, yeah.
And I bet they said, how are we going to get this out?
Right.
I don't know. Try water. Nope, that didn't work. Try lacquer thinner. Nope, that didn't work.
Right?
Borax. Well, that worked.
Yeah. That's how it's all figured out.
I noticed a lot of people are already telling us that they shared it and sharing the video. So remember, you're with Matuska Taxidermy Supply Company, and we go live with the new seminar every Thursday at 4:30, and we do a giveaway every week. So make sure you share right now in the comments area. If you share, let us know you shared it, and give us some thumbs up, and you will be in the drawing for next week's video.
How would it work on pheasant wattles? Asks Mark Drexler.
I think good.
I think great.
I think
this
good, too.
stuff anywhere that's just tricky to airbrush. Boy, it's nice. Any area that it's hard to be able to hold still enough to get the detail that you want. If it's hard enough to get in and get the right angle to be able to airbrush. Sometimes the back of your airbrush, you know, you have to tip it at a certain angle and it can get kind of tricky. So yeah, any kind of application where you're struggling to be able to reach.
And you've got
with
a
an
new pheasant
airbrush.
wattle flocking too.
Yeah,
don't you?
Mark, we got asked to pick up the red flocking for the pheasant wattles, and so of course we did. And so we now have the red flocking for your pheasant wattles.
Now the thing I noticed about PanPastels is you seem to get a softer appearance,
Yeah,
not as liquidy painted.
right. They stay more of that skin
Yeah.
kind of fleshy, soft color instead of getting glossy. And so this here is the colorless blender. So once you get everything on, and if you're having a little color in one area and then you're switching and you're going to another color, this is the colorless blender. Yep.
No, wait.
making sure. And then just go ahead and work it and it'll help kind of blend all those colors together. But especially up the nose, the center of the nose, that's an area that can be really stressful, especially to people who are new to airbrushing. When you have to go up that center, oh man, I do it over and over and over again until finally, oh, I got it. So this can be a really, really big time saver, and you can just really fine tune it to exactly what you want.
Everyone loves these applicators. Let's see if we can give you a better view up close. We have 3 different, might take a little bit to focus on it, but we have 3 different styles. You have the very small, regular, and then the tapered in the green. And it holds your color really good in them.
It does, yep.
We use them for also cleaning up dust. There's so many uses for them. Dust in the eyes or small areas.
Yeah, that pointed little green one, this one
The
here.
tapered.
Yep, this one works well when you have to get into those little skinny spots. So as if like on deer, as we're going down into the lacrimal crease, trying to pull the color, that lighter fleshy color out of this area up in here, that works really nice where the rounded ones don't get in there quite as well.
Are you mixing it with anything like water or anything else?
This we're not. It's just a straight powder, and when you're putting it on, sometimes a few little powder flecks will get, but if you just blow it off, you know, it won't color. So if it flecks onto something, don't worry, it's not going to color it immediately. You do have to seal your powders to make sure that they seal up, and we did do a little bit of experimenting with some of our sealers, and some of them had a tendency to turn it white. So make sure
the
you
Krylon matte turned it snow white and it didn't come out.
Yep. So make sure you do some experimenting before you all of a sudden, you know, oh, I love it and it's perfect, and you spray it and it
Customers
turns
come
white.
in 5 minutes. Hit it with some gloss.
And it'll happen.
The matte did not work.
This we found does work really well. It's the Deft Polyurethane Satin, and it doesn't seem to have any adverse effects and
Will be in the
turn it
catalog
white or
next year.
anything like that.
Satin is a kind of an important product to have around the shop because you want to give your deer eyes a little bit of life.
Right.
And gloss is too glossy, matte is too flat, and a dust of satin at about 1.5 feet does wonders. It really makes them pop.
Those applicators, can you reuse them? I know they're pretty inexpensive. You get a 100-pack for about $8, but you're using them fairly over and over.
Don't
Yeah.
put them in any solvent, but if you do them in water or alcohol, I think you can save them, sure.
Sean says he needs a catalog if they're available. Sean, if you have ordered from us before or if you have given us your address, you will be on the mailing list. And let me tell you, our new catalogs are beautiful and they are at the printer right now, so you should see them hopefully Thanksgiving, a week before Thanksgiving.
You'll
hopefully.
recognize them when they come because
Yes.
they are a work of art.
They are gorgeous.
They're gorgeous.
So be looking for those, but it will be a few weeks yet. But they are at the printer in the process. So make sure we have your address or you've ordered from us and you're already on the list.
And then are you going to be
Next
moving
thing?
on to the
All right.
turkeys? I didn't know what we were going to.
We showed you a long time ago when we first got PanPastels. We were just throwing things together and ideas, and I had a turkey head. I had this turkey head, and I started applying. Hand me one of those. Where's those other little guys? Yeah, those.
These are going to be in the giveaway. I probably shouldn't give you those ones.
Let me hold one up.
Okay.
But I just took one of these and started.
Maybe it's worth more if it's touched your hand.
Started smearing red on the turkey head, and people went, oh wow, and Brett was talking to one of the people that got it, and they said, I will never paint a turkey head any other method than PanPastels, you know, and he was doing it with this.
Sure.
You used, which one did you like for the inside of your nose, for the clay work?
I think I did the triangular one.
And it worked well for that.
Mm-hmm.
And that little foam rubber thing on the end pulls off. You get them in packs, right?
Yep.
And they slide on and throw them away and get a new one.
Yep.
Handle lasts forever.
Yep. So again, make sure you share because we are doing a giveaway at the end, and these and the PanPastel are in the chance for a giveaway along with some habitat options. But make sure you share and let us know you shared because privacy settings don't always let us see that you shared it.
This is the beginnings of a turkey head I was working on a little bit earlier. And this is kind of a base coat. We've got a lot to go on him, but I will tell you my process and you can adapt it to any method that you would like to use. And mine's going to be a little different than Amber's because I did use water and it worked pretty well for me. To start with on the turkey head, this is a plastic reproduction turkey head. Urethane sounds better. Composite polymer. And what I do with my turkey head first is I actually sprayed this entire head reasonably heavy with a Payne's Gray. Payne's Gray is a blue-gray color. This looked pretty bad when I sprayed it. I then take steel wool dipped in lacquer thinner and I wipe the entire turkey head off.
And that's what kind of got this started.
And then there's the darkness under there. I covered up most of it. Actually, what it looked like when I was done was right up in here, that little part by the crown. Then, after I had basically two colors, it's a wash. I put a thin coat of Payne's Gray, and then I steel wooled it off, so it's kind of like a wash. It's stuck down in the cracks. You really can't get it out of there. So then, my next step was, if you look at your turkey reference pictures, we even had reference pictures, you guys that watched our show yesterday, we had reference pictures of bullet wounds and of knife cuts and axe cuts, and you can get that stuff right off the internet.
For that video, we had the Halloween music on with that, but we actually put the live one of the talking and what you're using and how you're doing it. That is now on our Facebook, so you can actually check out the full version of that video if you were.
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
It was
Everything
fun and
there
it was informative.
was all PanPastels and it was all stuff that most taxidermists have in their shop.
It was super creepy to see you cutting his face.
It was super creepy for me
to have-
to cut the face. I did not like doing that. That was
And when she pulled it away with the tweezers, it looked bad.
and Joe jumps in the middle of it.
And there's no rules to this PanPastel. If you ask me what it is, I'm going to say it's makeup. It's just an expanded version of eyeshadow or something like that, and that's how we use it here. We've also used it, Amber mixed it with triple thick to make the best looking blood you've ever seen in your life. It made a really good drippy blood. You can paint it on with water, you can put it on dry, you can mix it with your epoxy sculpt. There's no rules. Try something, and if it doesn't work, scratch that idea and go to another one. Okay, moving on to the turkey head. If you look at your reference pictures, you're going to see that, notice some things. The crests of the wattles, of course, are going to be pretty blood red. The high points of all these little bumps on his neck are going to be very, very red, but down underneath is a baby blue color. I like to combine my PanPastel work with my airbrush, so I took light tone lacquer, turkey head blue, I guess it's called, and you can lighten it, darken it, whatever you want. This is 505. turkey blue. I thin it very thin. And I put retarder in it, and I turn my air pressure way down. What are you doing?
I sat down on one of your dusty seats.
Amber was supposed to clean that. Okay, I have a very small amount of paint coming out.
I hate fish bone. I do.
And now I'm just going to hit those valleys. Now I've already done some of it, so that's why you probably can't see the effects of the paint.
Sean says a trick that he heard a while back when first using the PanPastels is to spray the item, cast duck head, etc. with hairspray, and the color sticks better.
I'm all for that.
A little Aquanet action.
We've done that with matte too. Okay, so then I will go over the entire head, hitting all the valleys, even if down low in the throat. The level of excitement of this bird is determined by the amount of red. So the redder he is, the more excited he is. That red bleeds all the way up into his head. I kind of want to go for a mid-excited bird, something that's in between. But now so far all I've done is gave it a Payne's Gray wash, steel wooled it off with a little dampened with lacquer thinner. I go in and I highlight all of my valleys with the turkey blue. And then,
It says Tom Matuska's watching right now. How are you doing that?
ha-ha. Okay, then,
Joe Martin says you hold your airbrush funny.
let me tell you why. Let me tell you
I knew
why.
you'd want to.
Because
All the chemicals.
about 3 years ago, something started happening to me. And I got to where I couldn't, don't look so sad, I'm better now. I got to where I could not put a glove on because I couldn't spread my fingers. I could not pick up a coin off the
couldn't
table.
write.
I couldn't write. I went to the Iowa Taxidermy show.
It
I
was
brought
the
the
saddest
invoices
thing
back
ever.
to Mandy. I could not write. I sat in the trailer of my truck waiting to go to the banquet trying to button my shirt with my tie. I could not
No
get
grip.
it buttoned. And so I had to go into the doctor and I said, what's this going on? And I had, my hands all atrophied and things like that, and but I lost the use of my fingers, and even though I can do it the correct way with the airbrush now, because I've had all kinds of drugs pumped into me, but now I can do it, but I got so used to using my thumb, that's why. Go figure.
So it's back just like normal now.
Nope,
Not normal.
but I'm happy with what I got compared to what I had.
I am too. I can read your notes a little
I
bit now.
know, I write pretty good, don't I?
You have the prettiest handwriting of anybody I've ever seen next to Brett. But it was so pretty. And when you wrote me that note, I was so, oh my gosh, this is so sad. And then all
I
of a
was
sudden,
sad.
you did a couple treatments, and you came back, and I remember you're so proud. I saved the note. It says, look, you can read this, or something like that on the note, because your hand signature was getting
I
better.
go up to the hospital and they do an intravenous thing, and they want to put a, what do they call it, shunt? Where they
Yeah.
put in, and you leave it in forever? No. So every week for five days straight, didn't I?
It's like a half
for
a day.
5 hours, I would sit there and I would
What
watch
they
this
say it
thing
was
go.
from, though? Because we were kind of thinking chemicals in here.
I don't doubt that it was formic acid or borax or da-da-da.
So
Somebody
wear
out
your
there-
safety gear, people. Wear your safety
It was
gear.
something, but I'm somewhat better now, and I use my thumb for my airbrush.
Must have been a Catholic boy.
No.
That he is.
What's that got to do with it?
I don't know.
I need to know that, as a matter of fact. You kind of might have hit on something there.
It's Jig and Jim. Oh.
Okay, now, Amber put it on dry. Somebody mentioned hairspray,
Yeah.
hairspray,
Yep.
and then put it on so it clings to it. I used the water pen.
Our new water pens.
Yeah, and it works really, really good. And so what I did was, I just get a little in here and get my water flowing. Now I make a slurry. And now I can paint on these high points.
And the nice thing is that it will dry with more of that matted flesh kind of texture to it instead of like a gloss, like a paint.
Dave Glasspool says, if I had a mess up, what's the cleanup method to start over and try again?
Sure, water. This will all come off with water till you seal it.
And tell Tom to put his gloves back on.
Jig and Jim says, guys from Catholic schools have the best handwriting.
Oh,
Oh.
I thought it was the nerve damage. He was going to teach me why I had my nerve damage. Sister Rodowig did it. Sister Rodowig. And that pointer that she kept smacking. My ear, look at my earlobes. Look how long they are. That's Catholic school.
Oh my goodness.
I hid my phonics book in the closet, and my mother's cleaning lady found it. Oh, Sister DeShano did not like that. That was ugly. She used to work at a prison camp. See, and it's going to look like that.
Oh.
See? So now I can take this one, we'll jump over to this side. And now PanPastels, just like Amber did on the Bobcat nose. And you can get anywhere with these. Now, if I was using an airbrush, I would have it sprayed and fogged everywhere, but by using something, I maybe don't have the control, but some of you people might have better control, and you can do a really fabulous job.
What's the time frame between an airbrush and doing it by hand with your water pen?
I
PanPastels.
think you're going to have considerable more time in it, but you're going to have repeat customers because your turkey heads look so good.
yeah. The amount of detail that you can really get with these by doing it by hand is pretty amazing.
And those water brushes will actually clean right back up, and you can use a different color with them.
Now you can treat this just like any kind of paint. And I'm going over the surface, and it's not going down into the valley where my Payne's Gray shows up. So I still get kind of a lot of depth just by skipping over on the high points.
Our peacock lady has turkeys too, you know.
I miss our turkeys.
I do too.
I don't know if your reference pictures are close enough, Tom. Reference.
They're right here.
We need a real live one. Remember to share, you guys. Share the video if you want to be in the chance for the winning. We will announce last week's winner
Right now.
right now.
You guys go ahead and I'll keep playing here.
So, our chance to win over here, you have, we're gonna throw in a PanPastel kit would be one. You have the tape measure, which is a great one, a rock, or the habitat scene. So you have your chance to win 4 different items. And today, Douglas Rewinkle, you have 15 minutes to tune in. Let us know you're watching to pick your box. Otherwise, it's going to go to the next person, and then if they don't, it'll go to the next person live.
Jesse Wells says, hi, Vicky.
Hi. We will see you soon, Jesse, for school. Jesse also mentioned to get a close-up of the crocodile head in the back.
Ew.
Which they've been working a lot on this croc here. Which Jesse, they'll probably still be working on it when you come to school.
Those are dental acrylic real teeth, molds of the real teeth. That is actually a mold of that crocodile. You can show them that too if you want to, if you can do it now. And it might be fun for them to And this has been a little bit of a challenge because this is a 13-foot croc and he needs to fit in an 8-foot ceiling. And so we're working with some constrictions. And we'll get the head on, we got the tail curled, and we'll probably by next